Welcome to RPI's CloudSuite Tech Talk series. My name is Keith Whalen, and I'm here to introduce today's presentation on city, county, and K-12 dashboards in the cloud powered by Infor Birst. If you enjoy today's presentation, please note we do these Tech Talks every Friday at noon Eastern, and the upcoming schedule is available on the Work Out Loud events page. Please note that we welcome questions. Simply type them into the QA chat box at the bottom of your screen. We'll save them until the end so as to not interrupt the flow of our presenters.
Hi, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jenny Matson with RPI, and I'm here today with Infor and some other folks from RPI ready to talk to you about Birst, Infor Birst, an exciting analytics product for that has pre-built content and capabilities that are especially interesting to those of you in the public sector. And so today we'll be going through some reporting challenges that a lot of organizations face, but those that might be specifically familiar or interesting to those of you working in the public sector. We'll also provide an overview of Birst and what functionality it provides and show you how easy it is to set up some things within the tool. And then provide some options for next steps if you're interested to learning more about what Birst can do for your organization. So reporting challenges, everybody has them, right? And just to give you a little bit of an introduction and a background on who I am and how I relate to this webinar. Again, my name is Jenny Matson with RPI. I'm relatively new to RPI. I've been here for about 2 months, but I've spent 20 years in the Infor ecosystem. My first entrance in, and I know many of you from it, is working at MHC Software, providing document output and document management for many Infor clients. And they came to us with a simple problem. I need to take my data and turn it into something that my customers and employees and things can benefit from, whether that would be a printed check or something provided online. That is kind of what they were coming to us for. And so I got to have the advantage of about 900 client Infor implementations during the period that I worked there. And I always heard from customers, I want to be able to run my business efficiently. ERP is supposed to help me do that. I want to be able to make good decisions I can back up and be able to trust the information I receive. And sometimes I'm running multiple systems and the data isn't up to date, or my employees are looking at something online that doesn't show truly how they were compensated and how can we solve that problem. I also want to be able to share information so that others in my organization can benefit from all of this data that we have to also be able to make decisions and support their jobs and assist their customers better, whether that be a student, a parent, a citizen, a fellow coworker, all of those folks. And that ERP should really be an enabling technology. And with things changing and the way things have been going with COVID-related issues and more remote work requirements, I think there's been a highlight on siloed information, older systems, and accessibility to data, because we're no longer close to each other to be able to pass that piece of paper over, or maybe to call somebody to run a particular report for us. So how do we maintain doing our job in times where we're not able to maybe do it in a traditional way? So we have a need for data. And sometimes there's also just sort of this unwillingness or inability to ask for help because the resources within our organization are really, they have a lot on their hands to get that data for a lot of people. And we may fall to kind of the bottom of the list on that. And this is not just an Infor issue in terms of I've, implemented this ERP and now I don't have access to my data as much as I would like. You know, I've spent all this money and we put in this big system and you're telling me I can't get a standard report. That happens with systems in general, and I've seen it with, you know, the other ERPs in the marketplace as well. And so a lot of clients I've talked to are like, I'm in this uncomfortable position where here I am having to back up from my boss out of his office telling him, we can get you that data, but it's going to be a SQL query, and it's kind of a complex one because I have to access multiple systems. I have to do this join, and then if you want graphics on it or something like that, that's going to take Crystal. And so, you know, in like 2 months, you can have the report that you might run, and 2 days, you know, you run it that morning, and by the afternoon, the information is no longer valid. So it can be a frustration and a pain point, and something that, you know, causes you a lot of grief. Or if you're, you know, an end user, say in the finance area, you just can't get the information you need to you know, service the folks that you're working with. So why does Infor Birst provide something new and different? There's been a lot of reporting tools kind of put out there as this is going to maybe take care of the you know, the concerns that clients have. The thing about Infor Birst, and when I was at my last company working on a CloudSuite, one of the first CloudSuite financials applications that did everything across the board, it became clear that the secret sauce with Birst is that it takes care of that first part that I told you about, where you might have to go to your boss and say, I've got to run all these SQL queries, and I've got to do these joins, and I've got to get Fred from IT to help me identify what tables everything is in. All of that work that takes the lion's share of the effort is done for you. So the end user has access to know how to pull that data in common terms to them. And Aaron and Rob are going to get into that a little bit more. But before they take it over, I'd like to turn it over to Yasmin, who is with Infor and has just a large breadth of knowledge about what public sector clients face. So Yasmin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jenny. So my name is Yasmin Barnes, and I've been with Infor for about 3 years now. But before coming to Infor, I spent 20 years in the public sector. So I truly have in-depth knowledge, firsthand knowledge about what public sector face, when it deals with reporting, having real-time data, and the lack thereof. I spent a couple of years with the American Red Cross of Metropolitan Dallas, and then I was with the YWCA of Dallas, and then with the City of Dallas for 12 years, and the last 6 years as the Human Resources Assistant Director. And then I moved on to the City of Waxahachie, which is a small town about 20 or 30 miles south of Dallas, where I was the HR and Civil Service Department Human Resources Director. So I will tell you that reporting was an issue. And most commonly, we had issues with those in-house homegrown systems that generally got the job done, but had over the years become so antiquated and difficult to use that they were just causing issues for us to pull data, to compare data, to share data. And so because those systems were built in, say, Excel or Access, and they were built specifically to monitor one program or one department's activity, it was so siloed that it became impossible to create comparison reports or pull quick information reports. So real-time data was just out of the question. Also, how many organizations, and I know you know a few, have that one person who knows that one critical spreadsheet or reporting system, and the public sector has so many of those. That one person that if they didn't show up for work one day, they could shut down the whole organization. So real-time data
Yasmin?
dashboards. Yes.
Yeah, I know who he is, and if he's watching, his name is Fred. Just FYI.
Well, we had several of those, and one of them dealt with the pump system for the whole city of Dallas. And so, I mean, these are critical systems that if this person, heaven forbid, got hit by a bus, what would we do? And so real-time data dashboards can help with that. And that's one thing that the Birst solution can help resolve with organizations. Lastly, I'll touch on remote working. And that concept, you all know, has taken over the workforce in the last 10 months because of the COVID pandemic. And in my experience with public sector entities overall, they have not made that transition to the cloud, or they have just not made that transition to being comfortable with their employees working remotely because they do not have solutions that allow for pulling and sharing data while working remotely. So it's just that public sector entities could very well benefit from a solution like Birst because of the ease of pulling data, the ease of seeing data and real-time data. Because like Jenny mentioned, it could take a week to pull a report, and by that time, that data is not even valid anymore, especially when you're dealing with budgets or budget numbers or reporting for grants that have to be turned in, HR, EEO reports at the end of the year that have to be correct and on time. So now I'm going to turn it over to Rob, and he's going to introduce you to Birst and tell you a little bit more about how it can resolve these issues for you.
Thanks, Yasmin. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you virtually. My name is Rob Kraus. I lead our analytics solution consulting team here at Infor. And let's dive a little bit deeper into what we solve for from a reporting and analytics perspective. Our goal, first and foremost, is to simplify the analytics ownership experience for our customers. And we do that by providing a full, robust capability around analytics, and those analytics also being industry specific. So the industry that you're in, we have reports, dashboards, and KPIs that are more tailored to, your day-to-day operations. So all the way down the list here on the right-hand side, starting with artificial intelligence first and business intelligence. I mean, that's really our core focus, and the strategy for our organization moving forward is leveraging Infor Birst and the robust analytic capabilities across all of our solutions. So if you think about, what are some of the things that make Infor Birst unique, or what is Infor Birst? We provide a complete reporting and analytics platform that's delivered in the cloud and has patented automation that allows our customers to bring in data from multiple systems and do that rapidly. So our patented automation and machine learning is really designed to help solve that data collection, that aggregation, and that data modeling challenges that Yasmin and Jenny both mentioned as common pain points in the process of getting reports and dashboards, and making that process easier. Couple that with our industry-specific analytics, and the fact that we can deliver this as a service in the cloud really simplifies the ownership experience. So because we're bringing all the end-to-end capabilities that you would need to do reporting and analytics, you don't have to go out and purchase a separate database, a different ETL tool, a different tool for visualization. We really just bring all the things that you need into one nice package. And so because of this, in terms of lead time and creating new data assets or taking on new use cases, we can do this often in 90 days or less. So leveraging our automation, leveraging our industry-specific content that we have for our CloudSuite solutions, like CloudSuite Financials and Supply Management, our CloudSuite HCM, which Aaron is going to jump into later in the presentation, talking about what we have there out of the box. The goal is to reduce costs, eliminate some of the risk that Yasmin and Jenny talked about, where the intellectual property for the company can't live in one guy's spreadsheet, right? It needs to be something that can be scalable, reusable, that's trusted, secured, and governed, and do that in a way where you can do more with less, right? The fact that we don't have a large infrastructure that you have to maintain means you don't need to, have a bunch of people focusing on just keeping the lights on. They can focus on spending the time in their day actually analyzing data and getting insights from it than, just collecting it and trying to massage it so it makes sense. So that's a little bit on, Infor Birst and, 3 big things that I think make us unique as a solution. And again, I want to emphasize the pre-built industry content and these starter analytics that we have. And so we're going to dive deep into that in a couple of slides here. But really, so just think of the time savings. I mean, we talked about some of the pain points. How do I get data from A to B? How do I have this data make sense? What are the different ways that I need to create joins between tables? How many SQL queries am I managing? Our goal is to try to solve a lot of that heavy lifting up front, so you can get started, get implemented faster, and then you have the data pipelines to the underlying data, and now you're just adding, maybe a new column or a new view or something to a pipeline that already exists versus trying to blaze that trail entirely from scratch. And so that's really where we've seen great adoption of the analytics, is leveraging that industry content and really having that underlying pipeline to the data. So if we look at holistically, all the main things that we're solving for, we're not only providing reports, it's a complete analytics and data platform. So we provide a data lake, we provide reporting and analytics, we provide the ability to shape and put your data into a format that's going to make sense and put security, trust, and governance on it. And we can de-risk, your analytics and your reporting needs with this platform. So going from left to right on this screen, you can see the first thing that we're solving for is data connectivity. Bringing in data from multiple systems, whether they're Infor or non-Infor systems, they're in our cloud suite, they're on-prem or a legacy solution. Our goal is to help you solve that data connectivity challenge and bring all that data into one place. Once we do that, we then put analytically ready data models on top of that information so it can be more valuable and widespread across the organization, and you have trust and confidence in that data. So the second thing is really solving for that data prep. So as you can see, looking at what we have here, these concepts of purpose-built subject areas, the idea there is a user no longer has to understand the relationships between tables or how they need to join or look for certain things. They can just say, what, I want to see my current headcount by department, or I want to go in and look at my budget to actual, or I want to see my spend by vendor. And now you're transforming the reporting experience from this spiderweb matrix approach of trying to remember how all these different data sets talk to each other, and just focusing on the things that you're trying to answer within the data set. So what we see with that data prep capability is providing a lot more autonomy to the everyday user, making the consumption of reports and content much easier because it's in business-friendly terms. It's not something that you have to spend time studying VLOOKUPs and spreadsheets to figure out how that information should talk to one another. And then finally, the data visualizations, which is taking that data connectivity, that data prep, and then putting it into a format that's easily consumable and can be shared internally and externally. So whether you want to do highly formatted reports that meet a specific column and pixel width, and you want to have that be sent out or delivered or bursted out to internal, external stakeholders. You want to look at things on a mobile device, do visual discovery or dashboards. Our goal is to give you that full, robust suite of ways to interact and take advantage of that data without creating extra work for you along this process. So I think the big takeaway here is that all these things that you're seeing on this screen would typically represent 4 to 5 different products that you may have already made investments in, or you're looking at making investments in. That's separate points of failure. That's different licensing agreements. That's different patches, upgrades, and maintenance. We try to simplify that ownership experience by providing that complete analytics data strategy for our customers in a single product. So everything that we're looking at here is part of one solution. You don't have to Lego brick all this stuff together. So
yeah, and there's a couple points, Rob.
I'm sorry.
No, okay,
I was
go
just going to say that I'm going to act as an audience member now, since we don't have that interaction until the end. I'm going to say something I've heard. Well, that's great. I'm in the public sector and nobody lets me do any of this cool stuff till way later. However, given the fact that this can run with version 10 separately to itself, And there's some ways to do it in bite-sized pieces to allow you to take advantage of it. Don't be discouraged. Just keep listening, guys. Okay, I'm sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
No worries. So one of the other points I was going to mention that I think a lot of people overlook when they're thinking about this is there's two key things that you get from this kind of accelerator, right? So when you look at the slide that we've got up there, you've got these three major steps that you have to do to get to the point where you get to create the content that everybody wants, right? Everybody wants to create executive role-based dashboards that monitor different areas of business performance within the organization. But how you get to that is you have to do the data connectivity, you have to do the data prep, you have to do the data modeling. But with CSF and HCM Analytics that's delivered by Infor's done all that work for you. So we know they've put in, that's thousands of man hours, right, to get that done and have that data model so it's analytic ready for you to then go and build that content that you're looking for. But the other thing is, like Rob was mentioning, because the solution is full stack and you have all the tools you need from top to bottom to deliver this, it's something that's certainly extensible, right? So once you have this process in place and you adopt it as part of accessing data easily out of your ERP, it can certainly be a model to be used for other systems that you have. You might have other smaller third-party systems that you want to blend data from those systems with your ERP. You can follow the same process and you've got that governance and all those tools in the same place. So you can continue to grow that footprint and make more and more data available to people in the organization in ways that make sense to them and is easy to access.
Yeah, Aaron, that's a perfect segue to my kind of final point on this is that, we can start, tackling, CloudSuite Analytics use cases around finance, supply chain, HCM, but we all realize that, there's new data assets popping up every single day. You're going to have different systems that you need to connect to. And so I really want to emphasize the capability here that our ability to extract data from different systems is not just Infor, it's outside of the Infor umbrella. So really where we see customers getting a lot of value is taking that industry-specific content, but as you said, augmenting it with data from other systems and bringing all that into a consolidated place that you're still not giving up any of that security or governance or trust on the data, but now you're adding more value to it over time as you're blending that core ERP data with your other systems. And so I just think that's a really important point to emphasize as we look at the analytics and data platform that we provide as part of the Infor Birst technology. So,
and the other thing I'd like to mention about that too is from thinking about the end users, because you have you have a consistent approach of how you collect and prepare information for analysis. They're looking at it all through one pane of glass, right? They don't have to use reporting tool A, reporting tool B. They just go into one place, and through those custom subject areas, they can access system A, system B. So they're accessing it in the same way. So all those skills that they acquire as they're learning Visualizer and how to do self-service, as you add other systems on, as you become more mature, you're going to be able to give them that same experience, right? They still do it through that same tool, right? Just with accessing data across multiple systems. So it makes it very easy and intuitive for them to blend data across multiple systems.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we really want to make that user experience simple and easy, right? I think one of the most important things in any implementation or project that you're going to take on is getting buy-in from the users, driving user adoption, attacking change management challenges. And the easier we can make the report building process, bringing in data from other systems, having that UI be something that's familiar, that's just part of your day-to-day, I think is key. And so what's great about the reporting and analytics is that not only can we blend in data from those other systems, but it lives inside of your Infor Cloud experience. So when you sign into the CloudSuite, you have your in-context reports and home pages right there. So we're really blurring the lines on the user experience. You don't have to have those, plugins or desktop apps open. You can just have that single username and login to get to your information. So,
and that's so important to users. They love that. They never want to go to another system.
Less clicks, the better, right? So all right. Aaron, I think you're picking up on this one, right?
Yeah. So thanks for the introduction, Rob, to kind of the Birst platform, features and how it works. So now I want to talk a little bit more about some of the specifics of what you get out of the box. So both CSF and HCM have pre-built analytics are delivered. And so there's two things that you get, right, that you're going to care about as a user. You get that pre-built data model, right, which makes it easy to access your business information that's in your ERP. And then you also get different sets of templates that are often role-based by subject area that you can take, tailor, and make them your own as part of your implementation. So you're already starting ahead of the game because your data model is already built and ready to go in and build those dashboards, reports, and ad hoc analysis tools. But then you've also got things like you've got, a turnover dashboard, right, that you can look at for your organization. You can use it as is, or you can tailor it and make it your own. You're going to have income statements, profit and loss templates, et cetera, that you can take, tailor, and then build out. So it really helps with the accelerate your implementation by being able to access that information basically from day one, right, as part of your implementation. So you get access to all that. In addition, you're going to get access to all the data structures that you would expect, right? So regardless of whether you're doing it on top of V10 or you're a CloudSuite customer, you get all those different financial data structures that make ERPs so flexible and great, but you can implement it in ways so those reports are dynamic and reusable. And if you're also considering, there may be somebody out there that are thinking, well, we're not going to CloudSuite for a while. We're on V10 today. We're going to be there for a while. One of the other things to think about is because this data model that's delivered out of the box by Infor, it's built in the same way across both systems, right? So that model gets hydrated with data, right? Whether it's from V10 or it's from CloudSuite, it's the same model. So what that means to you is if you were to implement CSF Analytics on top of V10 and you work with your organization to build different role-based dashboards or financial reports on top of V10, so you get all these great looking self-service analytics and content, when you're ready to go to CloudSuite, that content's going to come with you, right? Supply chain, you can just pick it up and take it with you. Finance stuff, you'll have to work some of the, rework some of the plumbing because you go from having a very rigid financial structures to something that's very dynamic and dimensional. But certainly the time invested while you're on V10 and getting ready to go to CloudSuite, building out that content, learning those skills that are going to align with Infor's strategic direction long term, that's all time well spent, and it's going to get you ahead of the game. When you go to CloudSuite, you're going to have those skills, and that's it's going to port with you when you go to that newer system eventually.
And I think one other thing you can do for clients is also give them an idea of what's maybe missing from how their accounting finance system is structured now and what they really want to get out of the, the global ledger and all of the flexibility and things that they can do with that. So not only are you going to get better analytics today, you're going to get a view into what your analytics could be tomorrow while learning the tool.
Right. Yep.
Well, and just a final comment on that. I mean, having that analytics platform and framework in place, leveraging the data lake, leveraging the Infor Birst analytically ready data models, as you're moving from an on-prem or legacy system, you're now capturing all that historical data for reporting. So there might be opportunities to minimize as much data conversion that you might think you were going to do initially. It can drive the configuration of the cloud solution, HCM or finance and supply chain. So think of user-defined fields or different ways of bucketing or calculating turnover. Having the analytics in place and a skill set around that, you can then visualize that as the system's being configured to make sure that day one of go live, you're having the reports deliver the data that you want exactly how you expect it. So I think it's really important to lead with analytics from it when you're starting down that path of implementation, and doing that in parallel while you're configuring the HCM or ERP system. So,
great, exactly, great point. All right, so I'll just continue walking through kind of the orientation here. So I've got a screenshot up that just gives you a sense of the content that's delivered. So these are these different templates or role-based dashboards, KPIs that are available. So you can see they're organized by supply management and then by financial management. So just kind of gets you a sense of all the stuff that's delivered out of the box so you can take and tailor. Same thing for HCM Analytics. So if you're a multi-tenant GHR customer, you're going to get this release. It's it's great how easy it is, right, to do this reporting. And it makes even some of those more difficult areas of the system easily accessible. Like if you've ever tried, to report on action reasons, right, to find out some more specifics about turnover and whether it's voluntary, involuntary, and doing custom grouping, that's a lesson in patience on the legacy system, right, finding where all those tables are, how to join things together and get that data set. With HCM Analytics, it's drag and drop simple, right? You can go in there, you can find action reason, you can find termination date, effective date, all those attributes that you want to report on without any coding or scripting. So it makes it great to get in there and easily access that to tailor the content that you need for your organization. So again, just showing you some of the summary, the content that's delivered, organized by different subject areas. So you're going to get content related to turnover analysis, compensation, applicants, right, talent acquisition. So you can go in and easily report on that. And then you also do get role-based dashboards and content that are delivered out of the box, which helps you to kind of, shift your paradigm to going from a report-centric mentality to one that's role-based and more dynamic and interactive. Okay. And then the last point I want to touch on too is getting back to the first point about the data model is, this is for me, right, and for a lot of people that we work with, this is one of the greatest features of this. The fact that you have such easy access to all of your information in the ERP, it really solves the thorn that's been on the side of business users for a long time, right? I know what I need to get. I know it's in the system, but I can't get at it for whatever reason, right? It can be security, it could be access, it could be, SQL, understanding the relational data structures, right? There's a lot of reasons. And so you always had this barrier between you and the information you needed to do your job. So you normally had some kind of reporting process. You had to go request from somebody who had different skill sets to go and get that information, bring it back. It always took longer than you wanted. But with this data model, it really gives you access to all of your information in your ERP, and it's really at your fingertips. It's organized. It's presented in terminology that makes sense to you as a business user. So you can simply and go and navigate through those different subject areas to find the different pieces of information. Maybe you need to do some ad hoc analysis before a meeting, or maybe you want to develop a dashboard that you push out to your team every week. This is something you can do. It's drag and drop simple. There's no coding, there's no scripting. You can just get in and get at that all those rich data sets that are locked away in your ERP currently, and get at that information and use it to be more data-driven in your decision-making, and have these business decisions be objective, and having that data to back you up, right? When you go and you conduct an analysis and make a decision, you have that data that can back up that analysis, and it gets rid of any of the subjectivity. So being able to go in and easily access, I think, is one of the greatest features about this. And it's something that once you're a multi-tenant customer, it continues to evolve, right? Infor is always working on this. They continue to add KPIs, different calculations, things that make your life easier, better, so you can get in and access that content. So what we're going to do now is I want to transition over to Rob, and now we've kind of talked about the platform, right, in general. How does it work? I talked about some specific stuff, right, as far as Infor CSF and HCM Analytics. Now let's look at some examples that Rob and his team have actually built as they've gone out and they've leveraged this technology for some of the customers that they've worked with in public sector.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, in some of these examples here, we're building, different point of views based on, client need and what are some of the bigger challenges that they're trying to solve from all different perspectives. So we're going to look at things from an education perspective. We also have drilling into some more of the financials at the county or city level, looking at information like, expenses. So as I go through each one of these slides here we got a screenshot of something that we put together working on K-12 and really an early warning system. So we want to understand how are things going at the school level. Where are we at from an early intervention perspective? What steps have we taken, and how is that applied across the student population? Where can we start identifying some early warning signs, and how are we performing at the state or district level, doing a health check or getting a pulse of where the school system is at comparatively. So putting information together into kind of role-based, purpose-built dashboards with the ability to then drill into more information. So looking at, like, from the early intervention perspective, what are my student counts? What's my average GPA? What's my lowest grade average in the class, highest grade average at the school, and then looking at my student population, how many of my students are absent or tardy or have had disciplinary actions taken against them, and is there any correlation between GPA and tardiness or absentee, with the ability to get more information about that individual or student. And you can see here across the top, the ability to filter, right? Maybe I want to look at all absentees that have missed 4 days or 5 days or more and quickly sift through that list. Think about the one-off requests that you're constantly getting, not just here in the K-12 example, but even from the HCM side, right? Like, show me a list of all active employees for this location, for this given point in time, or this department. That's really where that self-service element comes into here, where it's not just static reports or dashboards. These are designed to be interactive, and we're designed to leverage that data visualization capability that Aaron was talking about on the previous slide, where even if there's a report and maybe it's missing a column that you want, or you want to modify or change it, you can take any of these as a baseline and modify and change those. So that's one of the nice things, the flexibility of the system is you can really personalize the user experience and give people the tools to do more in their day-to-day. So looking at some of the early warning metrics, so looking at total disciplinary actions, looking at that by grade level, by class type, by ethnicity, by gender, being able to look at the district versus state performance by either academic metrics or different demographics, so looking at things like ethnicity or risk factors, or enrollment by different programs in the system. So again, providing that high level snapshot with the ability to drill in and get more information and have this be actionable. So going down to a lower level of detail now, going from that high level of where we're at with the student population, we can then also do some trending. So based on either a campus or a group of students, or however you wanted to segment or bucket that information, you could then look at what's my prior period or prior year versus actual, and how does that compare? Where are we improving? Maybe on absentee or tardiness by location, by student, by teacher, or where are we having some increases? So you can quickly start visualizing where some of the problems are, where you need to take action, just by leveraging conditional formatting and the ability to trend and do that comparative analysis. Addition to that, going from the K-12 example, like looking at the ability to greater investigate, maybe renegade spend, or get better visibility into grant or award funding, or where are our expenses from a department perspective. So being able to slice and dice by department, looking at the usage across funds or different services that are being provided by the city. In this example, we can see, our total expense amount, what was that a year ago, what was our percent change, and then looking at the different periods here using conditional formatting, we can see where we greatly exceeded our expenses. And then we can see things like, how's our expense by fund performance, and who are our top vendors that we're spending money with, and are we, spending more than we should be? Where do we have that renegade spend, maybe by department? So giving you the ability to quickly kind of visualize spot trends and drill down into more detail is key. So a lot of use cases around, better expense management, making sure that, if there's anything left in the grant or in an award, that you're using that before it expires. Tons of different ways that we could use analytics to help drive that. Looking at things here from, our revenue impact or service budget by different funds, looking at, federal, state, local income tax, the ability to look at maybe first half or second half of the fiscal year, and look at, what's my total district budget versus general fund budget, and do much more financial analysis, and the ability to have highly formatted financial reports. So going back to kind of that all-in-one solution, instead of having to then download data and then pump it into Crystal to then get a highly formatted report, I can do that in the same system. So all the same data, that trusted data that Aaron was showing with the ability to do that in Visualizer, our ad hoc report building tool, we also have a pixel perfect report writer where you can build highly formatted reports, custom banded, watermarked, that can meet your specific design needs, and those can be printed, scheduled, and automated to be delivered as well. So tons of different use cases that we can go out and tackle for all, different parties here, right? So whether you're state, local government, we're looking at county, we're looking at K-12. There's a lot of different ways analytics can help improve and drive different analytics and data use cases for your organization. So hopefully this gives you a sample of just, some of the things my team has been working on, working with various clients and some of their use cases. Yeah, so really appreciate your guys' time looking at some of these examples. Go ahead.
Rob, I just wanted to tell you that you hit on a great point. In any instance, a city manager might say, we have a budget shortfall and every department has to cut their budget by 10%. And having that real-time data and those dashboards would make it so much easier than having to go comb through the actual budget to find where you could cut that 10%. So just the experience I've had, those dashboards would make things so much easier.
Right, and one of the other things.
Another point. Oh.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I like another point that Rob brought up as well, that he says he's been working with a lot of clients on a lot of use cases. So that's exciting. So there's an openness, right, from the Infor team to hear from their clients and incorporate some of these use cases in. And I think that's one thing that we would certainly appreciate if it came as an outcome from this webinar, to hear from you and what you're experiencing, what you saw that you liked, because there's going to be a way for us to provide this in a little bit like scaled down piece so that you can take bits and pieces of it. So if something Rob said was interesting, or if you've got another idea, that just helps us make sure that we're really meeting our customers' concerns. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. So, kind of bringing everything together and looking at some of the next steps here and how we can continue this conversation and provide, more information, education around analytics and use cases and things we can help you with, and how RPI can really help, you guys achieve that from an implementation perspective, provide that coaching, that guidance, and best practices around solving some of these challenges. I encourage everyone to reach out to us. Send your questions to contact RPI Consultants at questions at RPIC.com, and we can get meetings set up as follow-ups. We can talk about different use cases and how we could get started working with you, and happy to engage, happy to have myself or someone from my team give you a high-level overview or a deep dive into the solution. What are our capabilities? What are some of the use cases we can help solve for you? So really looking forward to your questions and engagement. And then, we have some upcoming events as well that we'd love for you guys to join. So up on the screen here, on December 17th, City of Las Vegas Bet and Won on Online Services event. So please subscribe, join, attend that. And also on February 16th, there's going to be an Infor Public Sector Summit as well, where we'll be talking about all this again, or even in more detail. And I'm sure there'll be many more conversations around analytics. So looking forward to engaging with you guys. Pleasure meeting everyone virtually here. Please come out and meet us on our virtual events. And so with that, I'll pass it back to the team if there's any other closing remarks or statements, and then we can open things up for QA.
I was just going to say that maybe at the virtual public sector event, whoever says Waxahachie wherever Yasmin worked 5 times correctly gets a prize or something.
All right.
All right, and we've got a question here regarding
kind of the flow of data between the system and the data lake. So just as a refresher, data, of course, is replicated from your primary system up to the data lake, where it's then made available for reporting. And so we have a question here asking, what is the standard refresh time that you should be using? What is the downside of trying to refresh routinely to create a near live feed? So usually it depends on the business need for what the time slice is for data. By default, we normally set things up to replicate overnight. So your data is no older than 24 hours. But of course, if there are specific needs, you can adjust that replication period. So there are replication sets that are delivered that you can configure, and you can tighten that window up to within, let's say, 2 to 4 hours. But if it needs to be tighter than that, you can also do a subset of the replication data. Like if you just need not all of your supply chain information, but maybe just a particular area, we can tighten that window up. But one thing, of course, we do advise is when we're working with our customers during implementation, we want to make sure that we're bringing the right tool to the job. So sometimes there are needs for information that needs to be real time or near real time, or data that needs to be updated. And so in those cases, we'd recommend that they leverage some of the functionality that's native to the CloudSuite applications to get at that information. So, all right. Well, I don't see any other questions. And with that, thank you for your time, and we'll wrap it up for today.